Welcome to Devotionary, where we make the Bible accessible and applicable. We've seen Joshua make an unwise decision. Now we get to see the consequences that came as a result of that decision. In Joshua chapter 10, verses 1 through 15, the Gibeonites, who deceived Joshua into making an alliance with them, find that they are surrounded by a 5-nation confederation bent on their destruction. And taking full advantage of his newly signed treaty with Israel, the king of the Gibeonites calls on Joshua, demanding that he honor their agreement and come to his aid. Now Joshua finds himself having to defend the very people he should have defeated. He ends up as an ally to a nation that God had deemed their enemy. But having sworn to keep his treaty with the Gibeonites by the name of God, Joshua had no other choice but to come to their aid. And God, bent on honoring his name, came to Joshua's aid. He gave the people of Israel a great victory and even proved his power through an unmistakable miracle. The reputation of the Israelites was rapidly spreading throughout the land of Canaan. News of their destruction of the cities of Jericho and Ai had gotten out, as well as the treaty they had made with the Gibeonites. And Joshua was about to find out that his decision to swear allegiance to the Gibeonites brought with it an added responsibility to protect them in the event that they were attacked by hostile forces. It seems that the Jebusites assumed that the Gibeonites, a powerful nation who had allied themselves with the Israelites, were now a potential threat to their national security. So Adoni-Zedek, the king of Jerusalem, sent a message to the kings of Hebron, Jarmuth, Lachish, and Eglon, saying, "Come up to me and help me, and let us strike Gibeon, for it has made peace with Joshua and with the people of Israel." Joshua 10, verse 4. This 5-nation alliance joined forces and surrounded Gibeon, intent on destroying them. But the people of Gibeon sent word to Joshua, demanding that he honor his treaty with them and come to their aid. Due to his ill-advised decision to accept the Gibeonites' deceptive offer of an alliance, Joshua had unwittingly committed the nation of Israel to their protection. He was now obligated, by an oath to God, to come to their aid. He had sworn by the name of God and could not go back on his commitment without violating his word to God. Back in chapter 9, we were left with the impression that Joshua's treaty with the Gibeonites was simply a commitment to let them live. But the people of Israel did not attack them, because the leaders of the congregation had sworn to them by the Lord, the God of Israel. Then all the congregation murmured against the leaders. But all the leaders said to all the congregation, "We have sworn to them by the Lord, the God of Israel, and now we may not touch them. This we will do to them. Let them live, lest wrath be upon us, because of the oath that we swore to them." Joshua 9, verses 18 through 20. But now we discover that the Israelites had actually become the protectors of the people of Gibeon. Not only were they obligated to let them live, they were committed to keeping them alive. Their oath was going to be more costly than they had imagined. And yet God stood with Joshua and the people of Israel, promising to go before them and provide them with a victory over the 5-nation alliance. "Do not fear them, for I have given them into your hands. Not a man of them shall stand before you." Joshua 10, verse 8. Joshua had sworn to the Gibeonites by the name of God, and God was not about to let his name be denigrated or his honor be marred. His reputation was at stake. So he acted and threw them into a panic before Israel. Joshua and his troops chased their panic-stricken enemies as they fled for their lives. But this is when the story gets really interesting. Because Joshua had sworn an oath by God's name, God was going to make sure that the Israelites, Gibeonites, and the Amorites knew that this was his battle, not theirs. He got directly involved in the action, providing a miraculous display of his power to destroy the enemies of Israel. The Lord threw down large stones from heaven on them as far as Azekah, and they died. There were more who died because of the hailstones than the sons of Israel killed with the sword. Joshua 10, verse 11. What makes this event even more significant is that Baal, the false god of the Canaanites, was worshipped as the god who controlled the weather. He was in charge of the rain, hail, and floods. And yet Yahweh, the God of Israel, rained down hail on the worshippers of Baal, destroying them while sparing the Israelites. And as if that wasn't enough, God honored a request from Joshua to make the sun stand still, so that the Israelites could have more daylight to capture and destroy the remaining forces of the Amorites. The Canaanites, a term used to refer to all the people living in the land of Canaan, were also worshippers of the sun and moon, considering them to be deities. So when God affected the sun, he was revealing his superior power over the false gods of the Canaanites. But that begs the question, what exactly happened here? Did the earth really stand still as the text suggests? There's been much speculation and even more debate regarding this issue over the centuries. There are those who argue that God caused the earth to rotate on its axis or slowed down the earth's rotation in order to lengthen the day. This would have been a worldwide phenomenon. There are others who believe it was a localized event whereby God somehow altered atmospheric conditions in that region, creating a refraction of the sun's light as it set in the sky. And then there are those who speculate that God simply provided a separate source of light that gave the appearance of sunlight. The bottom line is that we don't know how God accomplished this miracle. We just know that he did. The text matter-of-factly states, "The sun stopped in the midst of heaven and did not hurry to set for about a whole day." Joshua 10 verse 13. And then, as if to clarify that this was a God-ordained miracle, the text reads, "There has been no day like it before or since, when the Lord heeded the voice of a man, for the Lord fought for Israel." Joshua 10 verse 14. While we can easily find ourselves debating and doubting the how surrounding the events in this passage, we must not lose sight of the who behind it all. While it's easy to find this story difficult to believe, it's intended to stress the supernatural power of God. The God of the Israelites is not like Baal or Moloch. He's a living, all-powerful God who fights on behalf of his people. He's not some kind of distant deity who sits up in heaven, watching helplessly as his people struggle to live their lives on this planet. He is intimately involved in their lives, interjecting himself into their affairs in miraculous ways that defy explanation. The Amorites had good reason to fear the Israelites, but it had nothing to do with Joshua and his military forces. It was because the Israelites were the chosen people of God Almighty.